So earlier I had mentioned this correlation between the five element and the Bagua. We have fire above here in the postnatal and water below. And here we have fire above in five element and water below. What is that telling us? I mean, remember, these are poetic terms. They're obviously representing a wide range of different phenomena, shall we say? Because that's where we are, right? We're in the world of phenomena, the field of phenomena. And we're a conscious being, so there's an observer that's inside of this world of phenomena. And I'm saying that postnatal is the kind of operations that happen within a mind that is taking the field of phenomena as real, as the real thing, the real deal. And fire in this instance is connecting past and future, right? Regardless of the expense in the present, in order to maintain this existence into the future, right? We have a body, we want it to continue into the future. And then the feeling, the sensation of being is at the root of that. It's that vivid sense of being. That's kind of the electrical circuit that's connecting us. So recall that water here, I've been calling energy flow. So it's that connection with the energy flow that the mind, it's energized by that, right? Without the energy in our body, we would not exist. The consciousness inside of this body would be done. So it's a connection to that energy flow. But this is happening within the mind. This is not happening in the mind. This is just the phenomena that's happening. It's outside of that. Here's life's role within the five elements, right? But, it's sort of like when we're metabolizing stuff, we may be conscious that we're doing it, but the doing of it is happening in the physical world, right? Now, the doing of it is connected to our idea of continuing ourselves, right? When we're eating, which is metabolism, it's a kind of burning, right? So fire is an appropriate image. We're transforming the world as we do that, right? We're converting energy from one form to another, typically from a quote-unquote usable form to an unusable form, which is what thermodynamics says, right? The only reason we say usable and unusable is because we're set up in a particular configuration. We have a body that works a certain way, and there's certain energy inputs that work for us and others that don't. That doesn't mean that the stuff that we're creating as a byproduct wouldn't be used by something else, right? So here, this byproduct of the transformation, right? Earth. That's what's kind of the raw material for the next order, right? So all of this is happening out in the world of phenomena. It's sort of out there, the other, if you like. And then, our life is also happening out in this field of phenomena, but we're experiencing it internally, right? The spiritual being is experiencing this life within the field of phenomena. And, there's an argument that I am in favor of. I've made it in a number of places. There's one of the papers that I have up on Medium kind of discusses this in some detail. There's an argument that we might reasonably say that the field of phenomena actually consists of conscious beings. I'm not going to get into that much right now. Maybe I should go through that, since I seem to have more interested people here on YouTube than I do on Medium. Maybe that would be something worth discussing at some point or another. But it's really interesting to consider. This is a setup that really describes what we experience. In other words, we all experience this world as a being, as an observer, right, that is having a bunch of stuff happen to them. So we come into this world, I think maybe we can just focus down here for now. I could even get rid of the 5 elements for a moment. We come into this world and we're kind of trapped in this material world. We experience things happening to us. We know that that's what everyone is experiencing. For us, it feels like it's the only thing happening. So if we were not particularly observant, if we never got to that point in the wheel here where we got beyond ourselves, right? So here you have Leo, which is the formation of the self, and the self can organize its surroundings, come into balance with them, and then it can start to perceive, oh, hey, there's others out there. What are those others doing that gives you a greater sense of understanding? Wow, I'm not the only one. It kind of feels like we're the only one in this, right? We feel like we're this one light, and then there's all this stuff happening around us. But then we learn that there are others, and then you can extend those others beyond just our own kind and recognize that, hey, I mean, it's easy to relate to other mammals, right? A lot of us have dogs and cats and what have you, and we love them like we love people. But then there's all kinds of other conscious beings. And you can take that a lot further. Depends on how you define consciousness, but there is some evidence to suggest that consciousness is a fundamental attribute of all entities, and that the world consists of nested entities. So it may be that while this is an excellent model to describe what it is that we're experiencing, the reality of what's going on is even bigger than this. Right? The reality is that this is happening everywhere with all entities. That all entities have a sense of being. And that they have some kind of sense apparatus. Because even molecules and atoms, they sense and respond. Right? They receive certain things and they reject others. They're capable of all kinds of transformations. You could call those decisions if you wanted to. They're very consistent in their decision making, unlike other entities, but there's a fair amount of variation, a lot of variation. We don't understand it yet. So that would all come down to the question as to, whether or not there's actually an experiential being in each of these entities. And because we know an experiential being is capable of making a determination, making some kind of choice, and it may not be able to bring about the results it wants, but it can make a choice. So when things respond, given that we know an experiential being is capable of responding, why would we say that an experiential being is out of the realm of possibility when it comes to things like molecules and atoms? Or particles? Or even larger collections? Stars? Galaxies? We don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea. Well, okay, that's not really fair to say. We do have an idea. We have a bunch of ideas. We have so many ideas, but we don't know. We have no idea which idea is true. That's what we don't know. That's the problem with our ideas. We got a lot of ideas. But if we're going to be honest, we don't know. The truth is that our minds are empty of understanding. That's the truth. It's a mystery. We're living in a mystery. And a mystery cannot be grasped. There's no way to get our arms around this thing. It can't be done. But we can understand something about it. We may not understand exactly what it's going to do, but if we can understand some of the basic rules here, if we can understand what it is that's driving us in this world, right? Like, what is the experience we're having? What is it that's driving us, and why do we think the way we do? Why do we lose, we feel like we're looking for something, but then it seems to disappear from us, right? And then we get kind of obsessed with our pleasures. And the next thing you know, everything changes. And we're kind of caught in a world of just sensation, and we can't make any sense out of it. And then we have some kind of a memory. So remember, this is, right, past here. And it's this one over here, right? So we have some kind of a memory, something that we can cling to that gives us a sense of hopefulness about the future. And so we kind of do it again and go for that thing that we think we really want. And it ends up disappointing us again. And we go round and around and around and around we go, right? Why is that happening? Well, because we think the material world is the primary deal and that maintaining this body is like what we're here to do. In a certain sense, it is, right? The biological prerogative, biological imperative. But there's another option. This is what the ancients are telling us. And that option is to recognize that we're ignorant and that we don't understand and that we're not able to control our destiny or to make the world really a better place, that we have a tendency to kind of screw things up, so we better stop and just listen. See if we can understand. And then there's a sense that arises of something new. Right? Remember, this is the future here. These two look like they're the same, remember? But they're not. They're the opposite of each other. So we get this sense of a future. Something we don't really understand. Something that's yet to come. Right? And it has resonance with the past. Right? There's a kind of brightness. And then there's joyousness as we see that that future has entered the present. Right? Because everything that comes in the future has to be based upon something, some kind of root from the past. Now, we didn't do any of this. We were just listening. We didn't do a thing. We were listening. Something arose. It had correspondence with a root, with something in the past. And then it came into being, right? And then you have heaven, the moment of creation, where it's lasting, right? And continuing. And then it's sort of like, it's more like, oh, it's playing itself out, right? It's making room for something new. Even that thing of the past now, there's just sort of the after effect of it. And then it's just a memory. You don't even feel it anymore. This is like still feeling it in your bones. It's still vibrating inside of you, even though it won't be happening anymore in the future. And that kind of root from the past has also disappeared. You're just feeling it. And then it's nothing but a memory. That's kind of the natural way of things coming and going. In some respects, the idea that's happening here is perhaps a better way of describing what it is that we're trapped in. So we're trapped in it, and as a kind of subjective experience, we're trying to figure out how do we make it do what we want it to do, because we desperately want it to do what we want it to do. But from this point of view, we give up on wanting it to do what we want it to do, and we just look at it, right? We're just receptive. And then we have a better sense of what it is, the basic process. You could say the idea within pure spirituality is the thing that causes the transformation within the material. And that would suggest that when we're talking about 5 elements, that both of these are actually driven by the prenatal. And I think there's something I mentioned at one point or another, that you can think of the postnatal as being a kind of diluted way of thinking, and that the reality of each of the postnatal positions is the prenatal. So that when you're here in the postnatal, you're chasing after some desired thing, right? But in reality, what's going on is that it is heaven. You just think you're here in fire. Right? And then when you feel as if you've lost that thing you were chasing after, well, it's really just wind now. So the sense of emptiness that comes after the desired image has failed to gratify, right? Whatever it is, whatever you're addicted to, whatever it is you think you're chasing after, at some point or another, you realize it's empty of substance, like the Song of Solomon, right? All is vanity. But, not really. Really, that's just the gentle wind, right? Which means that, okay, yeah, so the future is empty because the thing that came up is going to have to pass, but it will have its resonance and it will have its memory, right? And then there'll be a return to the ground state of not knowing, and something new will arise. And that new thing will, in some way or another, be connected with what occurred before. And there'll be a joyous feeling of rebirth when it all gets connected and kind of makes its appearance in the world. The renewal, right? The Taoists say that the mind is the ruler of the body. Of course, the body is the physical, right? And the mind is a particular configuration that's oriented to a particular material setup. The mind is minding the body. The mind is minding the conditions that the body is in, the environment, right? The phenomena. Yeah, the Taoists say that the mind is the rule of the body and the spirit is the treasure of the mind. Because the mind can't have any illumination without the spirit. There's really no mind without spirit. I think probably one of the most beautiful ideas of the great traditions, it's the Great Spirit is a unified being that we are all receiving. And that's what confers consciousness to us. That's why it said that we're all children of God, because we're basically little pieces of spirit inhabiting this physical existence. It's not that we are God. It's that God experiences the creation through us. And we are all participants in the creation. I think it's a beautiful idea. Enough said. Another video. I hope you found it interesting. If you want to assist in the production of these videos, well, you know what to do. There are links in the show note description. It's not a show note. It's a video description. That's what I'm doing here. I'm making a video.